All right, this is a little bit of a long day, so I'll try to make it quick. We're still staying right at the midline of the channel here. MACD is above average, not really losing momentum quite yet, pretty flat. The pennant pattern I can kind of see forming here is outlined by these teal lines here, and it's possible it will fluctuate in that point until it gets to the end of it, and then it will break through one way or the other. And as we zoom in, we can see that the MACD is maybe starting to drop, but you can also see the RSI here. This latest peak is tracking the price action, so it's actually kind of gaining momentum. We are uptrending. All right, 30-minute chart. This is unique. We're starting to see that it's turning up, so that's good. I modified the volume area, and you can see the volume area high and low span right through here. So it's kind of going right through the top part of that. I don't know that it would be actually acting as a support or a resistance. It just is staying right in that area. The 15-minute chart MACD looks like it's heading up. It's gaining some momentum. 5-minute, it's not super clear one way or the other. Like I said, we're right at that level of the volume area high from yesterday, and hasn't really completely decisively broken through that yet. So I put an alert at this MACD cluster just below it right there, the lower end of it. If I was going to make a trade, I would say that I'd probably want to get into a long when it drops down to this alert right through here at around 68.01. All right, so I kind of placed the trade, but I haven't actually clicked the button to execute it yet. And I went out to look at the Fed meeting and anything that might be affecting the market in the news this morning. And the next thing that's on the agenda, there is a Fed meeting currently going on. The next speech is at 12:45. You can see this candle right through here. It was right at 8:30, right when the first speaker spoke at this meeting, and it didn't really go anywhere. It didn't make a decisive move one way or the other, and it pretty much ended up in the middle where it started. So that kind of tells me that we're kind of even. Bulls and bears are a little bit even right now. All right, it started to drop down, but immediately bounced back up, and now we've got these long wicks going on. And it's dropping, and I'm wondering if it's going to drop any further. You can see the MACD on this 1-minute chart is still heading down, but perhaps losing a little bit of momentum. I went out to the 5-minute. The MACD looks like it's tipping and dropping. So that's kind of conflicting between the 1 and 5-minute. That's a little bit concerning. And back to the 1-minute. I actually got into an order here, and I could see that it was enough green candles there. Felt like it was starting to gain some upward momentum. And the MACD I'm going to go with on the 1-minute chart here. Looks like it's going up. Got pretty tight trade here. Not expecting a big movement. This would be just over $100, and so the loss that we're looking at is not quite 1-to-2 ratio. It's just under $100. So an okay trade, decent trade. It looks like it's going up, and so I was able to move up my stop to a more decent trade here. So now we're looking at only a $50 loss for a little bit over $100 gain. So I think that would be considered a good trade, and it looks like it's going to go to that point. Now we're sitting right at the top of the wick of this upper candle right through here, and unfortunately I probably should have just moved it down one tick like I usually do. It was because of this wick over here that I put it up as high as I did, and it went right up to that point, like one tick below where I had my exit order, and then started to drop. So I immediately brought my stop up and got out when it started to hesitate, and got a small profit, very small. But at least I didn't lose anything. Just trying to be really cautious because I'm not sure what the market's doing right now. All right, so if that is going to be the peak that it makes, I believe it dropped down to here, bounced up, and then hit that same place again. So I thought, okay, maybe it's going to be dropping more. So my second trade I decided to do is short, and I put my order in right through here, and I believe I am just about to be filled here. And this is only a $62 loss, and it's a couple ticks above the last peaks right there, and just over $100 gain, and that's sitting right on the SMA. So that's a decent trade. All right, here I'm in, and then it dropped down immediately. It was wonderful, and then it bounced up again. So I was like, oh man. So I lowered my stop just one tick above where I got in, and that was just above this last candle here. And then the opening bell is like in 30 seconds. So I got pretty nervous about this whole thing. I didn't really want to be in a trade when the opening bell came, when I don't know where it's going. I have no idea. So I just got stopped out, I think, at a very, very small profit, and I'm really glad I did because it zipped up and made a new high, even though it looks like it's maybe losing momentum already. All right, a 2 minutes later, I thought, okay, well, it's going up. I think I want to be in a long, so I put in a possible order right through here. If it drops down, this might be a good place to get in, and then of course it would get up to around this area right here, which is the highest that it's ever been, and that would be an awesome trade if it continues that upward trend. All right, so here I got into that trade, and it's looking pretty good. My stop is here, and it did look like it's bouncing off of that the SMA. All right, but then it started to make a drop, and I got kind of panicked and raised up that stop, and I got out at a $50 loss. And as soon as I did it, it's like, man, I don't know if that was really the right thing to do, because it's really, if it breaks through this SMA, that will tell me if it's going to be dropping more. And I could have maybe waited that out. So I kind of regretted doing that because, it went right back up again. So then I tried another trade, got in at a worse place than I did before. Not a worse place, but it wasn't nearly as good of a place to get in because it's already gone up quite a bit. Got into a long, and it's just kind of stagnating. This is the 5-minute chart. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's really going to get up any further. I don't know. I lowered my limit order, my expectations down to, a couple ticks below that last high. But then when it started to drop again, I got stopped out at a $125 loss right there. But I'm really glad that I got out because it continued to drop, and this is the 15-minute chart, and that's a pretty big red candle there. So I'm wondering if the bears aren't beginning to win. But it's moving awfully fast at this point, and I just need to give it some thought and figure out where it's going before I can actually make a decent trade here. I saw it dropping, and I thought, okay, well, it's probably going to peter out and stop dropping, maybe make a bounce, right around the level. I think it's really close to it. So I'm just holding on and waiting for that bounce, and then I'm thinking maybe I'll get into a short at that point. So it did. It started to bounce right from that point that I thought it would. So I thought, okay, this is the next ideal trade, is to get into a short when it reaches this cluster of SMAs here. That's a humongous trade. I really don't think that's probably going to happen, but this is a decent spot for it to fall too. And it went so fast. Unfortunately, I was busy typing that last slide and kind of missed that opportunity to get in, and I missed a beautiful drop. It's the one problem with trying to keep track of my PowerPoint slides as I'm trading, especially after the opening bell, because it moves so fast, and might have to make some corrections on how we do that. But anyway, yeah, I called it. It kind of bounced off that point. It maybe didn't get up even quite as high as I thought it would, which makes it drop even further. All right, so at this point, I thought it was probably going to be dropping some more, so I just got in. This setup is a pretty good trade. It's a 1-to-2 ratio, and it's already starting to gain dropping momentum there and getting into a profitable position. But then it threatened to go up, and so I just got out at a small profit. I raised this up, really small profit. So not even $100, I think. And so then got into another short, and this time I jumped in too soon. It's just dropping so quickly. It's one of those things that's like, oh man, I want a piece of this pie here. So FOMO, I suppose it is, FOMO. So I jumped into a short. My stop is way up here where I really don't want it to be. That would be very painful if I made that much of a loss. And I've already lost, about $200 for the day so far. So adding that onto it would not be good. And so I thought, well, okay, the limit, this 15-minute chart here, the SMA, is I really think where it's going to bounce off of. And it's got a little bit further to go. It's possible that it's considered close enough at that point. So I got into short, and it immediately bounced up from that point, a fair distance. And I have my stop up here, and I just decided, no, I just can't do this. This is already $262 loss. I'm going to cap it at $300 loss because I don't want to lose all the profits. Completely. This is not good. So, anyway, it's sitting right there. I figured I'd probably get stopped out. This MACD really does not look good. The only thing I've got going in my favor right now, that was a really stupid trade to make. The only thing I've got going is that it's been pretty downtrending. There's a lot of bears right now. So just hung on and hoped. And I got back all of that loss. So it started to drop again. Now I'm back down to where I got in. Thanking my lucky stars here. All right, so I raised up the profit level to the SMA, which was marked out by this teal line, and got out at that point because I was just happy that I had gotten back that loss and made some kind of a profit at that point. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting at $28 more than I started off with for the day, so that's actually a good thing because it could have been a whole lot worse. So glad I did because it started to bounce at that point, and now I'm kind of thinking, you know what, I think it might be done with that downtrend there. So it's a little too early to tell, but I'm going to watch it for the next few minutes. If I do get in here and ride it up to this cluster of SMAs, this is a good trade. And it's possible that this will be my next trade. So I'm kind of watching it. Zoomed into the 1-minute chart, and you can kind of see it's kind of found a support in this area right through here, which surprised me until I kind of went out and looked at the 15-minute chart, and I'm seeing where that support is. So I think that's why it's kind of hesitating at this point. I zoomed into the 1 or 5-minute chart, I guess, and you can kind of see I was looking at this cluster of orders down here, and I marked out that yellow band you can kind of see back there. I thought that was where it was going to find support, and I kind of missed this little cluster right here. So that's where it's at, and I think that it is thinking about finding support and maybe going up again at this point. And you can see that the MACDs, the RSIs are all set up for another rise, I think. So I went short. All right, so when I went into the 1 minute chart, I guess I changed my mind, and I can kind of see why. It started making lower highs here, and then we had a great big red candle, and it bounced up. So the MACD is kind of telling me I think it's going to drop a little bit more. So here's that teal line where the 15-minute SMA is, and if I can get in up here and have my stop set there, that will be a really good trade. So it did. I believe I got in up here, and it almost immediately started to drop. All this happened again while I was typing that last slide. So when I came back to this screen, I lowered my stop to lock in the profits. I've locked in $100 in profit right now, and I think it will probably drop even further. So we shall see. And I got out. I believe it bounced up and stopped me out. So I'm sitting at $122 profit for the day. And all things considered, I'm happy with that. So here I stop.